Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to the Internet Court of Truth and Lies. We're here at TruthCourt.net. We're glad to see you today. We're glad to see your interest in what we're doing, and we thank you very much for inviting us in and taking a look at us. So what is this all about? What is TruthCourt? TruthCourt is a platform that's going to help you make sense of some of the things that you're seeing and reading on the internet and in the media. There are many claims that are being made. Who knows if they're true or not? How do you tell? Sometimes it's not easy. So TruthCourt gives a platform for you or anyone else to explore those kinds of claims and get a better handle on what they are, whether they're truth or lies. The way it works is pretty straightforward. The whole system is based on a traditional Western-style civil court. That means we have plaintiff, we have jurors. We're going to bring a case, and the jurors are going to decide it. How does it work? In practice, what you need to do first is look at something that you've seen or read or heard on the media. Find something, identify it. Get a web page up. Then go to TruthCourt.net. And if you're not signed in as a member, sign in. It's free. It's easy. Take a few minutes. Sign in, and then you can act as a plaintiff and file a case on the statement or the claim that you've heard on the internet. And you can propose whether you think that statement is true or whether it's a lie. That's the basic structure. So you get on to TruthCourt.net. You're going to enter some information about the case. And in the process of entering the information about the case, each user identifies, or the plaintiff, you as the plaintiff, will answer 8 universal verdict questions designed to dissect that statement. These are questions that we've carefully thought about, and you're going to get a chance to answer those 8. The next thing is that you're going to need jurors. So you're going to invite, and the system walks you through how to do this, you're going to invite up to 8 people who can act as jurors. You can invite more, but only the first 8 can be selected as jurors. Once you've got your 8 jurors, they accept the role of juror in your case. They're going to answer those same 8 questions that you answered about that claim, that proposed lie or truth. After it's all done, you're all going to compare answers. You're going to find out if other people think about things the way you do. You might be surprised. But when you go through the process of doing this, you're going to learn a lot about not only the subject, but you're going to learn about analyzing these kinds of things and ways to look at them to ascertain whether or not they're truth or lie. What's more, after you've done that and you have a finished case, you can share it on your social media platform. It's very simple. All you have to do is click a button in the application, and you'll be able to share your case on whatever social media you use. Now, to make it clear what we do and what we don't do, TruthCourt is a platform for conducting cases. That's it. The platform's role is to facilitate the process. TruthCourt doesn't influence the content of the cases, doesn't influence the answers to the questions. All of that is provided by the participant. That's you, the plaintiff, and your jurors. All of the input that comes directly from them. We have nothing to do with what that is. What's more, once you've done that, if you have a case and it's all done and you want to try it again, you got a verdict from 8 people and you're not satisfied with them, or you wonder if 8 different people might provide different answers, you can retry that case. You can do it again. Push a button again, and the system will set the case up again for you and let you invite 8 different people, and you can get their opinions on it. So only you have the ability to share the case's results. So that's an important thing for you. Now, for more details about how this works, go to TruthCourt.net. You can find some links there that will explain more of this to you, give you some examples. You'll see how it works. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to do a case for you that I entered, and we're going to go through it with some jurors here live, and you'll be able to see how it all works. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I can find it here. And there it is. You should be seeing my truthcourt.net screen now. And you can see that I've given it a title, CPI Omissions Add to Widespread Economic Unease. And what I'm talking about with CPI here now is the Consumer Price Index. And this is something that I've been hearing about on the internet a lot, is that the pundits, the economic people, they tell us the economy is doing great. But people in general don't feel that it's doing great. So there's some kind of disconnect going on. So what is causing that? Well, in my mind, some of it is to do with the metrics that we're using to measure whether or not the economy is doing well. And one of them is the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. So if you look at the screen here in front of you, you see on the left-hand column, it's the status column. And that tells you that there's a trial in progress. It's today. It's going to end in 52 minutes. Here is the conference link. Those of us that are on now are sharing on Zoom. We're live, so that's the link to do that. I have 3 jurors that have accepted and 2 have finalized their verdicts. So that tells me what the status is. The details, I'm going to go into this in just a minute, but this tells me more about the case. And over here in the right-hand column are the verdicts. These are the 8 questions that everybody, me and the 3 jurors, are going to answer about it. So let me go over my case with you just very briefly. What is the name of it? CPI Omissions, Add to Widespread Economic Unease. I think that the CPI is part of the reason that people are not feeling very comfortable about the economy. I'm calling this an economic misdirection lie. And here's my accusation. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics defines Consumer Price Index as a measure of the average change over time of prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. Okay, that's kind of a definition. It's supposed to represent the cost of a typical market basket of items. So what the people who put this together do is they put some items in a market basket. They think these are typical things that most people buy. Then they track the prices of them. And if they're going up or down, and that is how they come up with the core inflation rate. And that's the change in costs of goods and services. But what are the costs and goods and services that are in that basket? Well, if you would think that it's typical things that everyone bought every month, you would be wrong, because that basket does not include some very important things in my mind. First of all, it doesn't include food, and it doesn't include energy. So fuel, gasoline, the price you're paying at the grocery store, they're not measuring that when they measure the Consumer Price Index, when they give you that number. There are other measures out there that would give those kinds of things, but why aren't we using them? Why are we using the Consumer Price Index? Well, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe as we go through this, we'll get some more enlightenment about it. So a large portion of your monthly budget, things that you buy, are excluded from this index. And these are important things. These are things that are costing us a lot. Inflation is a complicated thing. It's a deeply personal thing. Each person is different. We have different, it depends where you live, where you shop, how old you are. If you're in college, if you're older, you may have medical expenses. All these things are different. So coming up with a computer or with a consumer price index is a complicated issue. But you would think that it would somehow reflect our real world experience better. It's not. It seems to be inaccurate. Why? Who knows? Maybe the index is being manipulated for some political or economic gain or some other reason we can't even put together. But it's important to know how it works and what's in it. So we should know more about that, but we don't. It's considered one of the fundamental and critically important economic indicators as used for measuring inflation. And not only that, the United States is not the only country that has a consumer price index of some sort or another. Almost every other developed nation in the world has this. So are they all the same? Are they all measuring the same things? Are they like the United States one, excluding key things? It makes people uncomfortable when you realize that the things that they're using to measure inflation are not counted in the consumer price index. Bureau of Labor Statistics puts this out. They put together all these things, and my jurors can read this in detail. I'm going to just skim through it for you now. For example, here's an inaccuracy that's very, very prevalent. You all know this. During a period when energy costs rose by more than 50%, and the prices of some of the most commonly purchased grocery items increased by nearly 30%, Consumer Price Index said inflation's not a problem. Why is that? Why weren't those things, why isn't there some indicator in the Consumer Price Index about that? There are other indicators that are showing that there have been dramatic increase in the cost of living, but not the Consumer Price Index. But despite its drawbacks, it's still widely used. For instance, if you are on Social Security and getting a Social Security payment, that's what determines how big of an increase you get every year in your Social Security payment. So it's a big deal. It's probably not going to change anytime soon. People are not going to stop relying on the Consumer Price Index. But I think it's important for people to realize what it is and what its limitations might be. It's not always been, furthermore, it's not always been measured in the same way. It's been changed over the years to include different things. So who knows? Who knows where it's going to go next and why we're relying on it as much as we are. There are obviously a lot of reasons. It's a complex issue, but I think that we can explore that a little bit more today. So that is my accusation. That's my discussion of the Consumer Price Index and what I'm talking about. Where I got this from was there are a couple of links here you can follow also in my accusation for more information about it. One of them is a government link and one is from a guy who writes about investing. So what I've come up with is I picked a statement that was used in this URL down at the bottom called Investopedia. And it says, despite being widely used as the core indicator of inflation, the CPI is far from perfect as a measure of either inflation or the cost of living. It has a number of inherent weaknesses. I picked that statement, I highlighted it, and you see above here it says markup, lie, or truth. I can push either button and make it red or blue. I say it's the truth. The statement is true. And this is the statement we're going to be examining today. Despite being widely used as the core indicator of inflation, CPI is far from perfect. So that's basically what we're going to be talking about. All right. So that's what my subject is today. I'm going to go over here and quickly run through my 8 answers. Is it the truth? Well, I say yes, it's the truth. I'm fairly confident that it's the truth, 65%. And my support for that is I say that a metric that excludes basic necessities like food and fuel is not reflective of everyday reality. It's part of the reason why people aren't trusting these kinds of issues. Is it the whole truth? Yes, I say it is. But again, I'm not super confident, about 60%. We're told the economy is doing fine, but the metrics used to measure it exclude key items. This adds to distrust of such official statements. When you are going to the grocery store and you see that your grocery bill has gone up by 30, 40, 50%, and then the Consumer Price Index tells you inflation's 2 or 3% or 5%, something's not clicking there. So the metric is at fault, in my opinion. Is it nothing but the truth? Again, I say yes, I'm pretty confident of that, about 70%. Here's a question that I had. In an age when very advanced computations are the norm, why can't we come up with a better set of economic metrics? People are feeling that the Consumer Price Index and other indices are being manipulated for political, economic gain, some other reason, who knows? But it does not instill confidence when the index that the pundits are using doesn't match reality, doesn't match the everyday experience. What is the deceit? I say the deceit is that the CPI gives inaccurate indication of inflation. That's not the truth. That's a deceit. And again, I'm saying our everyday experiences run counter to that. Is it deceit or truth intended? Well, I have to say it is. I'm pretty sure 65%. Until price increases to important items are taken into account, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, is going to be a flawed index, in my opinion. What's the motivation behind the truth or the lie? The motivation is very complex. I admit this, and I don't pretend to know what it might all be. It might be a way to limit increases to Social Security payments so we don't bankrupt that system. Maybe a way to favor certain industries so we don't cast a bad light on the energy sector. It may be a way to advance political agendas for the party in power to say, look how good everything is. I don't know the answer. And it could be anything, a lot of other things that I haven't thought about. But these kinds of indices don't reflect what they say they do. And that's the problem, and that's why we're having some problems with believing what we're being told. What's the social acceptability? Well, I say it's acceptable in this case for people to understand what these indices are actually measuring. So that's my answer. I say it is acceptable. And what label would improve the social acceptability? In other words, if you saw this statement over here in blue about the indicator of CPI as a core indicator of inflation, what label could you put on that would make people understand that maybe it's not true, maybe it is true, who knows? Would there be a label that would qualify it a little bit? And my answer is the label should be learn more about what the CPI actually measures and how it measures it. And in my opinion, it doesn't measure what we're led to believe it does, but I could very well be wrong. Okay, so that's my case. That's what I brought today, and I'm done now. And as you can see, I'm going to jump over here to the left-hand column. We have 3 jurors who have accepted, 3 jurors have finalized. In other words, all the jurors who have accepted to be jurors on this case have finalized their answers. So we can run over here real quickly to the verdicts column and take a look at what their answers are compared to my answers. All right. First of all, you'll notice these color bars in the 8 questions. Blue is yes, red is no, yellow is don't know, generally speaking. So we can look. These bars indicate, if you would divide them into 3, you would see there would be 3 little color bars there, and all 3 jurors are saying yes. They're agreeing with me. I said yes, and they're saying yes. Is it the whole truth? Well, 1 juror said no. Most of the other jurors said yes. Is it nothing but the truth? 1 juror said no. Most of the other jurors said yes. What is the deceit? And so forth. You can see down here that the jurors have mostly agreed with me, but not in every instance. So let's take a look in detail and quickly run through some of the other answers. All right, is it the truth? You see my answer here. If you notice beside my answer up here, there's a little icon that has a little copy symbol and the word yes. If you look down below here with juror number 1, juror number 2, and juror number 3, juror number 2's icon is identical to mine. That means that juror copied my answer exactly and agreed 100% with me. So I don't have to look at that one. I know it's the same as mine. Juror number 1 did say yes, but something's different. It's not exactly the same. So let's see what's different. Okay, juror number 1 has a higher confidence level, 90%, yes. And this juror says, yes, undoubtedly it is far from perfect, even when food and energy are removed and reported separately. Okay, so that juror agreed with me, maybe even a little stronger than my statement. Juror number 3 said yes, confidence 75%. Changed my confidence level. Juror number 3, mine was 65%. This one is 75%. So this juror agreed with me, is a little more confident in the answer than I was. Is it the whole truth? Juror number 2, again, copied my answer exactly. Juror number 1 said yes, but with a different icon. So there's going to be some difference there. So let's see what it is. Is it the whole truth? This juror says, confidence level of 60% says, no, not entirely. It's not entirely the whole truth. To say that something is far from perfect, one might be expected to have in mind some possible ideal index or some set of rival ideal indices and some metric to measure the distance of the CPI from those. That's a good point, and I don't have that. I don't believe that anyone has a theoretical, let alone practical notion of what collective consumer utility functions or perceived quality of goods and services are. Okay, now that's a very, very, very nuanced and well put statement. Yeah, when you say something is far from perfect, you should have something in mind that you think would be better. I don't, and I don't think anybody really does. So that's a good answer, a good qualified answer. Juror number 3 says no, that it's not the whole truth, and 70%. And again, basically the same answer, just saying it's not the whole truth, this statement, that there's more to it. And I can see that viewpoint. I can see how that might be said in that way. Is it nothing but the truth? I say yes. Juror number 1 and juror number 2 say yes. Juror number 3 says no. Juror number 1 says it's clearly flawed, but attempts to improve it, like the cost of living index, are only slightly better. Yeah, that's not a good one either. Juror number 2 says yes, but with a higher confidence level. Juror number 3, is it nothing but the truth, says no. And again, I see where this juror is coming from. Confidence level of 80%. There's more to it than this. I'm saying it is the whole truth. Mostly this person is saying, no, it's not the whole truth. We're kind of saying the same thing, just in a different way, I think. What's the deceit? There's my deceit, that it gives an accurate index of inflation. And it looks like everybody copied my answer. You see the icon is identical. So everybody copied that answer. So I really don't have to look at those. Those are all going to be exactly the same as my answer. So I don't have to take a look at those. Is the deceit or truth intended? Again, everybody said yes, but nobody said it exactly the same way I did. Juror number 1 says it's a well-founded criticism with a 90% confidence level. Juror number 2 says 65% confidence. Yes, it's an intended deceit. Until price increases to important items are taken into account, CPI will remain very flawed. The suggestion is that people should have a specific way they can see the inflation for themselves and know this is going into the larger measures. Yeah, that's a good answer. Juror number 3 says yes, 70%. Oh, this is an interesting answer. The deceit is intentional, but not necessarily malicious. Bureaucrats seeking some measure for operational purposes that was not too volatile likely settled on the CPI in lieu of having no metric at all. Well, okay, I can see that you needed something. And even though it's deeply flawed or maybe deeply flawed, it's better than nothing. So that's probably a reasonable approach. What's the motivation beyond it? I say it's very complex. 3 people have copied that answer exactly. Juror number 3, let's see what juror number 3 says. Also says the motivation is complex, but says a little differently. The CPI emerged at a time when it was impossible to have real-time inflation metrics, but I think that has persisted because it conveniently obfuscates inconvenient truths. Okay, interesting. Good answer. All right. What's the social acceptability? Juror number 1 agrees with me. Juror number 2 says it's unacceptable. Let's see what they say. 40% sure of that. It's unacceptable not to have a way to get a personal review of the CPI for your family. Yeah, okay. I like that. Juror number 3 doesn't know. 95% sure that he doesn't know. Seems to be an unnecessarily dumbing down of an important social civil metric. Yeah, I think so. It seems like we should be able to do better. But again, I don't have a specific suggestion. What label would improve the social acceptability? Everybody copied my answer. You can see the icons are identical to my icon up here. And the answer that everyone picked was yes, learn more about it. Okay. All right. So now you see how TruthCourt works. You bring up an issue that's troubling you. You invite some people to give their opinions about it. You provide some background information and some links so they can start the research of the issue on their own. And then they answer the same 8 questions that you answered, and you find out what other folks think about the issue that's bothering you and how their views may differ from yours. It's an important process to be able to do this. It's an important way for us to have civil discourse and for us to learn critical thinking and learn ways of analyzing these kinds of issues. A structured dialogue is what we're talking about here. And that's an important thing to have when you're discussing these kinds of things. And the fact that we're all answering the same 8 questions puts us all on the same page, so to speak, so that we can discuss this from the same viewpoint and maybe get a little bit of clarity into the issue. So that's how it works. I will invite you at this point to go to truthcourt.net, sign up. It's easy, it's free, and run your own case. You can easily do this. You can come up with any issue you want. Once you've entered the information, invite your own jurors and have your own trial. So we invite you to do that. We hope you will, because we think it's an important time in our country and the world's history for us to have a better insight into how to deal with these kinds of conflicting issues. All right. So thanks, everyone, for your time. Thanks for listening to all of this, and we hope to see you again. We hope to see you over on TruthCourt signing up and doing your own cases. We'll see you next week.